Hey everyone, it's Allie and welcome to my channel, and today I am so excited to do the mid-year book freakout tag. Okay, so basically I just have some different prompts. I already thought about everything. I pulled some of the books and I'm just going to go through them and tell you guys what I am thinking. So first of all, we'll do the good old mid-year check-in. So at the beginning of the year, I did set a goal for myself on Goodreads. Definitely make sure to follow me over there if you're not already. But I set myself the goal of reading 100 books during the year of 2023. And I actually set that same goal for myself last year in 2022, and I think I ended up reading like 83 books or something like that. And I know some people, they don't really like the idea of setting a book goal. I see a lot of people on there set a goal of like 0 books or 1 book, so it just doesn't really matter. And I don't really think it matters either. I'm aiming for those 100 books, but at the same time, I'm fully prepared to not read that many. I just like having a big goal to kind of keep me moving, keep me motivated. So yeah, with all that being said, I am certainly not where I should be in terms of getting to those 100 books by the end of the year. But I also know that I do tend to read a lot in the fall and winter. That's kind of like my big reading season. But I'm recording this on July 13th, so we are already over that halfway mark, and I have read 37 books. And I'm proud of that. I'm happy that I've read that many, because I definitely feel like I've had some months where life just got really crazy and I might have only read about 4 or so, and I shouldn't even say only, because reading a book a week is still dang impressive. But yeah, all that to say, technically I'm not where I should be in terms of my goals, but that's totally fine. Okay, so the best book I've read so far, this is really tough for me. I did go back through my Goodreads and I tried to figure out what the top one was so far. And I think it is hard when you're comparing all different genres. I do have my favorites, but I do tend to read all different kinds of stories. So I decided to go for what I would say are my top 3 so far, and they all are very different. So first up, we have The Silent Patient, and I had been wanting to read this for a while, but I also was like, oh, it's so overhyped, it's probably not going to be that good. This definitely exceeded my expectations. I absolutely love this book. My jaw was on the floor when I finished it. It was so good. And this is by the author Alex Michaelides. I have no idea if that's how you say his name. He is Greek, I believe. And I did go ahead, as soon as I finished this book, I went and bought The Maidens, which was the second one that he wrote. And I will say that even though I did really like that one a lot and I would recommend it, I did like this one quite a bit more. I just thought that this was a better story overall. But absolutely, he's going to be an auto-buy author for me. And I am so excited to read more from him, but I feel like he is right up there with Gillian Flynn, who I just think is one of the best of all time. Completely different, this literary fiction novel, another one that I did read it kind of while it was still really being talked about, but I'd heard the hype for a couple months or so and I was kind of like, we'll see how it goes. And yeah, I will not say that I was like totally captivated from the first page, but as soon as I really got into this book, I just was blown away. I think it's such a wonderful story, and I won't talk about this too much because I've talked about it before and I'm sure you know the general gist, but basically it does follow a friendship between 2 people as they go throughout their lives, and those are some of my favorite types of stories. And this was just a really emotional read, well written, very unique, and I would recommend this to literally everybody. But I don't think I ever said the name, just in case you're not watching the video. This is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. And then to round out my top 3 of the year so far, I do have Bitter Greens by Kate Forsyth, and this is more of a historical fiction book. So Kate Forsyth, if you didn't know, she actually has a PhD in fairy tales. So she has studied fairy tales, how they came about, the history of them, and I think that is so awesome. I think that's like the coolest thing you could get a PhD in. So most of her books are centered around a fairy tale and kind of telling the story of that fairy tale. And so this one follows Rapunzel from her perspective, but also the witch's perspective, and then the story of the woman who actually wrote Rapunzel. So I found this so interesting if you like historical fiction and fairy tales. Kate Forsyth is going to be one of your favorite authors, and she just writes really, really well. So although I would not say this is my favorite one I've read from her so far, I would highly recommend this author, and I'm looking forward to reading a lot more from her. Okay, best sequel. I didn't actually read a lot of sequels this year so far. I did read the entire Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. Those were the first books that I read this year. So I would say that the second and third book in that series was amazing. If you've never read Brandon Sanderson, I would recommend him as well. I have only read 5 books from him out of his many, but I've read them all this year, and I will absolutely read the majority of his books at some point. They are quite epic. He writes epic fantasies, so there's a lot of detail. You have to kind of like be focused. Your mind has to be in the right place to get the most out of his stories, I think. But the Mistborn trilogy was absolutely amazing. He is my husband Ryan's favorite author, and Ryan actually said that he thinks I'll like the Mistborn Era 2 trilogy even more than the first one. So I might not get to those this year, but definitely next year at the latest. But all that to say, I felt like the second and third books in that trilogy were just as good as the first, if not better, honestly. I also will put Carrie Soto is Back in that category. Not that this is a sequel, but it is in the same universe as The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Malibu Rising, and Daisy Jones and the Six. I couldn't think of that last one. And I love all 4 of those books. I think I've given them all 4 stars. I do not think Taylor Jenkins Reid is overhyped at all. And this one I would say is not my overall favorite of those 4, but I did really, really love it, and it's a great sports story. It's a great tennis story. So especially if you like tennis, I think you would absolutely love this book. And I think that this would actually make an even better probably mini-series or movie. New release I need to get to. So I am a big Kate Atkinson fan. I talk about her a lot on this channel when I'm talking about my favorites, but I absolutely love her. I think she's fantastic. And she did put out a book last year called Shrines of Gaiety. I think that's how you would say that. And I have not gotten that yet. That's definitely on my list to pick up in the next couple of months. I keep hoping I'll thrift it because it is a pretty thick, expensive one, but that's absolutely one that I need to get to. And then she is actually releasing a collection of short stories in September. So I did actually buy that already. I did the pre-release. So I think that's going to be fantastic. I am actually a big lover of short stories. I just kind of love that format of storytelling. And I kind of forget about them a lot, but I do want to read a lot more short story collections in the future. So I think I am going to absolutely love that collection that she's putting out. So I would say of books that are being released this year that have been or have yet to be released, that is number 1 on my list of ones that I want to read. Okay, biggest disappointment. I don't think I even have this one anymore. I couldn't find it on my shelf when I was prepping for the video, but I read Twilight, Life and Death Reimagined. I got it from Book Outlet. I was just kind of curious what the book would be like, and that one I would say was a pretty big disappointment because literally it is just the exact first book of Twilight, just kind of summed up the ending a little bit differently, but the whole thing is that it's just gender swapped. So the vampire, instead of being Edward, I forget what they named it, just kind of like a female version of Edward, and then Bella, same thing. So just gender swapped, which I did actually think worked better. I think Stephanie Meyer should have just done that from the get-go, but all that to say, it was just a pretty big waste of my time because it was the exact story, but I should have realized that before I read it. But yeah, overall it was absolutely a disappointing read for me. Another one that I was just pretty unimpressed with was The Spanish Love Deception, and this is one that was talked about a lot on Book Talk, and I will say absolutely I'm not a big romance girly, so take what I say about romance books with a grain of salt, but just compared to other ones that I've read, that have been popular on Book Talk, I just felt like this one was really not that great. When I read it, it really was kind of like a roller coaster of, do I like this? Nah, like maybe I don't. But overall, it was just a bit of a disappointment to me. And then this last one is going to be an unpopular opinion, I know, but I did think that The Inheritance Games was a little bit of a disappointment. I didn't think it was bad by any means, but because of the hype that was surrounding this book, I was like fully expecting this to be my new favorite series of all time. And it just wasn't quite what I thought it was going to be either. I thought it was going to be a lot more like puzzles. I said in a past video, I thought it was going to be more like kind of the adult version of Mysterious Benedict Society, like that kind of vibe. And it just wasn't really like that at all. The puzzles were there, but it was kind of like more minor and there was nothing really crazy. I did already buy the second and third book in the series because I was anticipating that I was going to absolutely love it. So I will for sure read those probably this fall, but I'm not dying to read them by any means, and just overall, I did find this book a little bit disappointing. Okay, the biggest surprise, I do have this book out on loan right now, but I was super surprised by how much I liked a recent book of the month pick, and that is The Wishing Game. And it's basically like Willy Wonka, but with books, and it was exactly what I was hoping for. It was so charming and sweet all the way throughout, and I really enjoyed the ending, and it just, I don't know, it just made me really happy when I was reading it. So I would absolutely recommend that book. I thought it was just gonna be, you know, just kind of a book to read, nothing too crazy, but I really ended up loving that one. I would say that one for sure would be in the top 5 books I've read so far this year. Favorite new author. Okay, so of course I gotta go back to Alex Michaelides. I'm gonna say his name different every time, poor guy. But yeah, absolutely love this, of course, and I did really enjoy The Maidens as well. I think those are the only 2 he has out so far, but as I said, he is now going to be an auto-buy author from me, and I will be eagerly, you know, looking online every once in a while to see when he has a new project out. And then I would say just Brandon Sanderson. I've read 5 books from him this year, which is quite a lot, and I have enjoyed all of them. I think he's an excellent writer. I don't think I'll love all of his books, and my husband Ryan is gonna like try to help me figure out which ones he thinks that I would like, because I'm not actually super into those like very detailed epic fantasies, but I have enjoyed his secret projects. He's been putting out like secret books that he wrote during quarantine. This one, Trust of the Emerald Sea, I really enjoyed, but I'm absolutely looking forward to reading a lot more from him. And I think he did actually put together a collection of short stories, so that's probably gonna be the next one I read by him. Okay, newest fictional crush. So as I said, I'm not a big romance girly. I don't really love to read a lot of romance, but I did really enjoy The Love Hypothesis actually. This one I did absolutely think was worth the hype. I wouldn't say it's like a top favorite of mine just because I don't think any like true romance book where that is the main storyline, I don't think any of those would ever just be a personal favorite, but I did think that this one was very solid, and I did really like the male character in this story. I think his name was Adam. He just had a really good personality. He is a professor, so I liked him. He was cute. Book that made me cry. Okay, we gotta go back to Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I shed some tears for this one. Yeah, things happen, as they do, as you are following somebody throughout the majority of their life. There are highs in this book, there are lows in this book, and it definitely can get very emotional, but there are some parts that are pretty sad, I would say. And also, I do have this one out on loan, but All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. That was very emotional for me. It follows a couple, more specifically the wife, as they go through infertility, and that is something that I am going through, and I just felt like Colleen Hoover really captured how emotional the journey can be, how isolating, how depressing, and I don't know if she has ever gone through that struggle herself, or maybe she knows someone who does, but I just felt like she did a really good job. And so I would recommend that one honestly to anyone, because infertility is not that rare, so maybe you are going through it or have gone through it, maybe your partner is. I'm sure you have a friend or an acquaintance who has gone through infertility. So I think just reading this book can, one, just make a couple not feel so alone in that journey, but it can also help other people understand what it feels like. So yeah, that one got me for sure. It is very emotional. On the other hand, book that made me happy, I mentioned earlier, The Wishing Game. It was just like such a charming book. I was so happy with the ending. It was the kind of ending where like you pretty much knew how it was gonna go, but there were like some twists in there, which was good, but I was like very happy that it was a little bit predictable. It was very, very heartwarming. And then another book that I would say just made me very happy was The House in the Cerulean Sea. This is a really adorable one, I think, and such a beautiful cover too. It follows this kind of grumpy, middle-aged man who doesn't have a lot of people in his life, he doesn't have a spouse, and he's like a social worker type person, but in this universe there are people that have magical powers, and so he is sent to kind of investigate an orphanage to make sure that everything is as it should be. And just kind of his personal growth as a person is really heartwarming to read about, and the interaction with the kids is very sweet. And just overall, I really liked how the story was told. I liked the narration. And again, just a really nice ending, I think. Okay, next is the most beautiful book I have gotten. Honestly, I think it's this one, Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. I really love this color a lot. I love the color scheme. I love kind of that simple silhouette. And this is just the normal copy, but there was like a special edition one that is even more beautiful than this, and there are illustrations throughout the book. So I would absolutely love to get that one, especially because Brandon Sanderson is my husband's favorite author. I would love to kind of collect all the special editions of his book so then we can display them on a shelf. So yeah, this one I think is really pretty, but the other one is even prettier. Favorite book to movie adaptation. So I couldn't really think of anything that I've seen this year that is from a book, but I am really looking forward to The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is in the Hunger Games universe. But I haven't actually read that book yet. I feel like when it came out, I just kind of missed it. Like I just never got around to it when Suzanne Collins released it. But the movie looks excellent, and I am absolutely going to pick that book up and read it before the movie does come out in November. So I am very much looking forward to that. And that is a series where I did like the books, but I feel like I liked the movies kind of just as well. It's been a while since they came out, been a while since I read the books, but I did read the books first, then watch the movies, and yeah, I feel like if I remember correctly, I kind of liked the movies better or equal. So I'm anticipating this upcoming movie to be really, really good. I'm also really interested to see the new Wonka movie with Timothée Chalamet, and this movie, it doesn't really seem like it's tied to the book that closely at all, because it is like a prequel to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. But Roald Dahl is my favorite author of all time. I absolutely love all of his stories. So anytime something new from his world comes out, of course, I always have to watch it. And I think Netflix did acquire the rights to basically all of his stories, which, reading about Roald Dahl, that was absolutely not what he ever would have wanted, which is kind of sad, but at the same time, I am very excited to see all of his different stories come to life. Many of them have already been made into movies, which just shows how exceptional of a storyteller he was. And then last one, what I need to read by the end of the year. Honestly, so many. I did very recently make a video where I talked about anticipated 5-star reads, so kind of go back and watch that one, I would say, if you did miss it. But alright, you guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here. I do hope you enjoyed, and let me know down below some of your thoughts about what I've read so far, and feel free to comment down below your favorite book of the year so far, and maybe biggest disappointment. I think that could be kind of fun for us all to read what we've all been enjoying and not enjoying so much. But if you like this video, please make sure to give me a big thumbs up and subscribe. It really does help my channel out a lot. But thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!